Good morning, friends. Welcome to my ad hoc ranting internet show. And today is a very important point. Today is March 26th of March, 2022. So basically, there is a chatter going on, reports from Ukraine about Russians abducting people and children and so on and shipping them to Russia and to Siberia and far distant places and so on, and stripping them of their identity and so on. And now, when it comes to horror and when it comes to doing anything bad, nothing good, you can safely accept that fact about Pustalenin. It's their nature. Communism has a history of being morbid, of being genocidal, of making people live in fear and poverty, of making people kill and get killed, and sending millions and millions of, sending dozens of millions and hundreds of millions, to their deaths in the last century. So, and it's obvious that Pustalenin has resurrection. The mentality was always there underneath, right? After the collapse and the destruction of the Soviet Union in Afghanistan. However, it has been officially resurrected now by the Pustalenin. Not that those between the destruction of the Soviet Union and Putin didn't think communism it was there, but they were in a dangerous stint, if you will. So they kind of played it low, laid low, and played it safe until they were really in charge and gotten revived by the West and Israel in particular. And now they're back into full gear, declaring that their communism is what's going on. So now you can believe everything you can hear about them, whether it's gulags, whether it's torture, whether it's genocide, whether it's psychological warfare, whether it is mass genocide, whether it's usage of poison gas. I mean, you name it. These guys, these creatures, lizard eye crew of Moscow, work in the mentality of cabal mentality of the Talmud, right? So that's who they are, that's what they are. So I believe that, but why am I bringing this up? There is a very important point to make here. When people live under communism or its sister, its twin sister, Nazism, people begin to lose hope, and their inner mind and psychology or psyche begins to reject life as it is, and our unconscious begins to want to discontinue, right? We have that. We all human beings, we all have that. Now, that said, there was a lot of chatter and report in the last century about Russians, and that's also true for Germans, for example, about Russians having problem with birth rate. So Russian people are becoming an old nation, and they have a problem with birth rate. So they're no longer reproducing and having children and being reproductive, and that's intentional and unconscious as well. And there was that was on TV, actually, even here in the United States, even in the Middle East, even here and there in Europe and so on, that Russia is having problem with its population. Population is not regenerating, is not reproducing, and the mentality of them, of the remaining population, is kind of tired of what's going on, or becoming a little bit rejecting, bias toward continuing life under what's is called communism and Soviet Union, even though democracy was supposedly there in constitution, but really no. I mean, there was a little bit of relaxation until the polity that was destroyed in Afghanistan regained its strength and so on, and then things will happen. So there was also that. Give me a second. So there was that, and there was also there are many problems. So now I am correlating or connecting between the two, that Russia really, the communism in Russia is really trying to replenish its population. And that's not everything that is, it's not the chief reason that Russia invaded Ukraine, invaded Ukraine. Rather to replenish its population, and that's what they're doing. If that report proves to be true, that they're sending people now to the Far East to populate like far-flung villages and small cities and so on. And who wants to live in Siberia, right? This is like Saudis trying to invite people and giving them free land in the empty quarter, right? You know, the hottest and most desolate place on earth. Right? Why? Because it's so hot, you can't, you know, if you're left there under the sun for hours, you will die. 2, there's no water. 3, there's no shelter. So 4, there's sand and so on. So it's a hostile environment, you know, it's not place to live in. And it was, you know, in the past, it was relayed that when they wanted to execute someone, and I was told this by an American intelligence agent who didn't say that he was, but we used to work together in Saudi, and he mentioned something like that, that they used, if they wanted to execute someone, they would just drop them in, you know, the Saudi family, they would just drop them in by a helicopter or something in the empty quarter, and like you come back and you don't even find them, because they didn't just die and dry up and fossilize, but in a very short span of time, but they were covered in sand as well, so you cannot find them, not anymore. And now in Siberia, the same thing. You know, if you remember, communism sent people to Siberia. So who wants to live in Siberia? But now that's what I think they're trying to do, is really rejuvenate the Russian population with new stock from Ukraine and possibly Moldova, which turned out to be on the target as well, and so on. And I do recall an advertisement, probably not so official, like not paid for advertisement, that uh, that uh, 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 that Russia, under of course Pustalenin, was offering free land and free farms and so on in Siberia. You know, in not in Siberia over the snow, but in areas, sparsely populated areas and so on, and they want people, if you know, if you want to go there, they will give you that, right? And then you become a farmer and a local and so on. So so there is a link between the two, if that's going on. And I do believe everything that is said about post-Stalin. Their capacity to dysfunction and ability to dysfunction is mind-boggling, and their ability to strip themselves out of humanity is also mind-boggling. It's something morbid and weird. That's point number one. So there's a link there. I do think there is a link there. So not that it's the chief reason that Russia invaded Ukraine, and then obviously Moldova and Poland and so on were on the target, and the Baltics, but that was it, to actually repopulate Siberia and here and there. And if they came into Finland and Sweden and Poland and other places, oh, they will start shipping people. That's something that I believe that is the case now. You may think that's a good thing. That's not a good thing, no, folks. This is like people here who go live in Alaska. You know, Anchorage is not bad. Nome probably lesser, but I see in places where the entire town was only like 120 people or so, something like that. So if you live in Dallas, or if you live in Boston, or if you live in Seattle, you don't want to go to Alaska, right? It's beautiful, you know, but in the winter it's pretty rough and cold and freezing, and you need to, you know, you need really to go there in the summer is fine, you know, like it's pretty beautiful and so on. Go rejuvenate, go your soul, go have fun, you know, refresh, change, and so on. But you can't live there. It's that simple, folks. Uh, and that's what it is. You know, going to Siberia is as such, it's, if not worse, as a matter of fact, because it's recorded The coldest temperature I think was on Earth was recorded there, unless it is in Antarctica or in the Arctic. But I think it's in Antarctica. However, if you want to deduct that, because Antarctica in a way is similar to the empty quarter or empty swath quarter. Some people say empty quarter. It's really empty swath, which is void of life. Well, there's life there, but you know, like primitive life, lizards and snakes and other mammals as well. And they, in turn, you know, they have a hard time surviving. So, anyways, that's not what. That's the point. Point number one is for Ukrainians to really take that into consideration and think it hard before they surrender to Russians and so on. Point number two. I heard that Pustalenin, the Chihuahua, and his sidekick Pug, P-U-G, you know, Pug Lavrov, are now talking Harry Potter. I call him Harry Plotter, H-A-I-R-Y, Plotter, P-L-O-T-T-R, you know, because he's always plotting. You get it, right? And Harry means he's got so much hair. And he's talking nonsense, you know. I think I watched like a couple of minutes of that stint, you know. And here's where it goes. From totally looking like a psycho who's willing to do anything and who's rough and who's unwavering and so on, to basically using Harry Potter as an example. My friends, that effling, I coined the term fuckling, effling. That effling is so void of manhood or anything. I assure you, you Americans, you Ukrainians, you Europeans, you whoever you are, I assure you, when push comes to shove and there's a need for weapons of mass destruction, that guy will flinch and he will not even appear on the horizon. He is no different from Trump when during the confrontation of North Korea, although I do have reasons now to believe that the show of force that was exhibited and shown by Trump and his Nikki Haley and others during the North Korea confrontation was fake. But nonetheless, that's how it is, folks. Let's hope that it doesn't happen. But no, the only distinct possibility now of weapons of mass destruction use is really, and it's a very small one, is really North Korea. So that's this guy. He lost the war, and I told you I expect to see a military collapse very soon, and I think it already happened. But you will see more than that in the coming days, and I don't think he has much time. I predicted and that there will be a military collapse in Ukraine, and I think that's already happened and will happen further. Point number three, I don't think that regime will stay the same anymore. I think there will be turmoil in Moscow and so on, even though he is in full control because, you know, he belongs to the Mossad. You know, Israel has a lot of tentacles in there, and they're sworn probably. That's how it appears now. They're sworn on keeping him in power, keeping that regime in power, of course. The Mossad and Israel and Zion, for that matter, Israel really existed by the existence of Theodore Herzl, and it was only official. It always existed as a group. If they take over a place like they did Russia and the Soviet Union, they will never leave, and they will make it an animal farm. They will make it a ranch. They will make it a jail. They will make it a torture chamber. They will make it put all kind of horrors in it. However, if they are forced to leave, they will make sure to destroy it and they will burn it to the ground before they leave. And that's what they thought they were doing in Syria. They thought the regime is leaving, is gone, and they started destroying everything. And I was a victim of them. I had invested a lot of money, and I worked so many years to purchase a farm and in Syria and build it and so on. And it was the regime people basically systematically, when they withdrew from that area, they destroyed it and they looted like the fence and other things from it and so on. But it was the only thing that's left is the land, which they couldn't do much about, even though it still has craters in it of ordnance, exploding ordnance and so on. I could even find howitzer shells in there. Anyways, so that is Pustalenin. Now, point number 2 or 3 is this. If any of the Ukrainians in government of Ukraine, whether they are comedians or whoever they are, if they compromise 1 inch of Ukraine, including Crimea, including Donbass, including anywhere, if they compromise and concede 1 inch, they will be traitors, and the blood of Ukrainians and others, those who were victim to Pustalinins, will stain them too. The fight shall continue at full strength and full length and full intensity until the last orc, Pustalinin orc left the country. Those murderous bunch and who have very little humanity in them, if any at all, as a matter of fact. And their conscripts and their terrorists, those Shiites and Alawites terrorists that they protected in Syria and Iraq and Lebanon and Iran and here and there and Afghanistan. Now they've come to fight along their side, right? Yeah, and Chechnya too. Those Chechen fighters now, Kadyrov, who was really working with the Soviet Union or with the communists when they destroyed this country, and they were a minority, and they're Shiites and Jews and so on. Now they're fighting in Ukraine, when the majority of Chechens who are Sunnis will definitely fight against Putin, but they're no longer in charge because many of them were killed by Putin's shelling and gas and so on. Anyways, so you leaders, be careful what you do. Not that you're gonna stay there forever, being leaders, but now if you betray your country and concede anything to your brothers in Moscow, you're like them then. You will be considered as such. I hope this doesn't happen. All right, point number 4. Point number 4. Point number 4 is really coffee, I think. Point number 4. Right now, everyone who comes in to mediate a ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, or between Pustalinins and Ukraine, whether it's Turkey, whether it's China, whether it is Qatar, whether it is whoever it is, whoever comes in trying to mediate a ceasefire is in fact doing that to tow, T-O-W, to tow their brethren in Moscow outside of a quagmire and then allow them to regroup and do something else. Ukrainians cannot accept any negotiation now so long the orcs are on their land. Those Russian orcs are on their land, including Crimea and Donbass, period. If you negotiate now, it'll be to ward off or allow the Russians to leave. That's it, supervised exit. And I don't believe you need that, because they're already falling apart and collapsed and will collapse further. Whatever is left there will collapse further. And you wouldn't need any intermission or intercession or somebody to intercede and try to negotiate ceasefire or whatever it is. No. You don't need that anymore. I assure you, Fox. And again, China and others are helping that regime in Moscow. Lizard eye cabal of Moscow, financially and militarily, and they're in trouble as much as they are. I assure you, if China entered Ukraine instead of Russia did, they would have suffered the same fate. The military landscape of history and what comes in the future has been redefined in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, and Yemen, and Somalia, and Libya, and here and there. Basically, it was redefined completely, what you can do in the battlefield and what you cannot do, and so on and so forth. The future warfare, basically, has been redefined by those people. those brave people. Uh, and I'm talking about Sunnis, my people. I'm not talking about those sickly bunch, brothers of Pustalenin, the Al Qaeda and ISIS and Hezbollah, and these worms, these sickly bunch, and the Syrian regime and the Alawites. And oh man, oh Shiites and Alawites and dogs of the Jew, dogs of Israel. Oh man. Have a nice day, my friends, and back to the coffee. I'm telling you, folks, coffee is very good for you. You have no idea its effect on your body, to how good its effect on your body. I brew my own coffee. Good day, gentlemen. Talk later.